to join me today at a Pilot co-working space. So, as an introduction, my name is Basi Duke. I'm CEO of a company called Print Consulting, and what we do is we focus on helping companies save money, right? So today we have Brian. Maybe Brian, introduce yourself.
Yeah, Brian Norton. I have a business where we import and distribute some safety products for kids and babies. And obviously we're here to talk about Brexit and the impact it's having on not only our business, but also on other businesses around the country in the same format.
Cool. So what's quite interesting though is that I speak to loads of companies and I speak to them about Brexit. And what's quite evident is that a lot of people don't necessarily fully understand Brexit, understand the implication of Brexit. A lot of companies are not even planning for Brexit. And a lot of companies think, what's the hype all about? Yeah. So who best for me to interview today is to ask you from your point of view, what do you see Brexit as? And also knowing that we have a shared background, we both have worked in logistics, we've both been shippers before. So it'd be good to understand, from your perspective, owning a business that you import and export stuff. What does Brexit mean to you? How is Brexit going to impact you as a business? What steps are you already taking to plan for Brexit? So maybe first start with what's your understanding of Brexit?
Yeah, well, initially, obviously, when Brexit first raised its head, the first fear we had was that the English market was just going to become completely locked away from us. And obviously we have a few suppliers based over there as well. So we had the additional impact of having to look at possibly sourcing product elsewhere, but also trying to replace our market as well. So I suppose from our point of view, we looked at sourcing product from different suppliers based in mainland Europe. But it also made us concentrate on our core business where we were looking at where our sales were coming from as well. So the Irish market was relatively safe from our point of view, but it was basically our mainland UK customers that were going to cause a little bit of difficulty there accessing the market. So I suppose as discussions went on, and obviously having met yourself, we've obviously come across we're not the only people with the same problem. Yeah. There's an awful lot of companies out there in the same situation. Yeah. The difficulty we have is that we're trying to find the best solution to suit everybody. Now, one solution does not fit all, unfortunately, because of the complexities of Brexit and the impact it will have on our market. So I suppose from that point of view, we've spent the last year looking at different markets for selling into, but also from a procurement point of view as well. Okay. So that's really the stage we're at this moment.
Okay, cool. I remember going back, I remember when Brexit happened. Then I was working for a company called Eaton. And I remember the day the vote happened and the results came in to leave, right? I remember we had crisis meeting as Eaton. So Eaton is a US firm that's based headquartered here in Dublin, and I ran their EMEA global logistics for them. I remember there being different contingency discussions going on. Okay, what does Brexit look like from a footprint point of view? Because we have a lot of factories based in UK. What does that mean to the business? So what I found quite interesting though is that now fast forwarding and speaking to companies in the last 1 year that are based in Ireland, there doesn't seem to be a priority for companies wanting to plan for Brexit. I think there's only one company that I think both of us went to visit in the summer who openly shared with us that they spent $1 million planning for Brexit, and what that involved getting AU status. Also involved them going through different scenario planning to see, okay, if Brexit happens, what does that mean to them? What kind of, how would that affect their supply chain? How would that affect their flows? I think that's a good thing for companies to do, but I guess the sense and the feeling a lot of companies are not even thinking that far. A lot of companies somehow think, well, it's not going to happen. That's one scenario, or they feel it's going to happen, somehow they're going to walk through it. But I think it makes sense to be prudent for you to start thinking about it, for you to start planning about it, and then understanding, okay, from a business point of view, if Brexit is going to happen, not even if, when it's going to happen, what does that mean from a cost-based point of view? What does that mean from an inbound flow? Also, transit time, because transit time is going to go up. So we know that transit time is going to be affected. We also know costs will increase. So just curious from the point of view, how are you tackling those challenges as a business?
Well, to go back to what you said earlier about the company we visited, they were basically putting a contingency plan in place for a complete no-deal Brexit, which basically means nothing was likely to move whatsoever. Other companies have put in contingency plans as well, but until we know what that final outcome is, those plans can't be put in place. So you can only mitigate for certain risks at that stage. So to go back to what you said then about the supply, as I said earlier, we are looking at different suppliers. We're actually thinking about changing some of our product lines to actually help and make it easier because of transit times and delays. Even though some of our product isn't temperature sensitive or time sensitive, it's fine, but to have those delays within your supply chain can add costs on your inventory, and it can also cost on the customer's expectations on the far end as well. So we've got to weigh up all of those options, but I suppose the financial costs are probably the higher risk for us because we're a relatively small, medium-sized business. Our margins are already very, very tight, so we can't afford to have that extra 8 to 10% that's being thrown about just for the simple reason of a shipment being held up in customs for an extra day. And we're only talking about it coming across from the UK. So there's those aspects of it. So, aligned with that and those problems that we're likely to have, it's very, very easy then when you look at the volume of products that's moving between Ireland and the UK and vice versa, how many businesses are going to be badly affected by this.
But what's quite interesting is that we also went for a Brexit seminar yesterday. We got to learn a lot more about Brexit. What's quite interesting was that wholesale retail is going to be the biggest affected sector, and I think next was agri and food, right? What's quite interesting though is that a lot of the talks we've been to have all been very generic, hasn't been industry specific. But I think it makes sense for us now to go into something that's more specific and more industry focused, because guys that are importing from a wholesale retail point of view have different challenges to say agri and food, because the rules are going to change, right? Sure. So what do you think makes sense to do to try to bridge these gaps?
Well, initially, I think what we will do is we will outline a very basic effect on business in general, and highlight the issues that a lot of businesses will go up against as a whole. And then aligned with that, I think what we will do is we will propose 2 or 3 maybe case studies based on individual markets. One for the wholesale retail market, one for agri-food maybe, and then maybe look at the pharma side. But certainly from a case study point of view, I think we could be able to break it down in such good detail that any one of our customers will be able to identify with a lot of the issues that we hopefully can highlight.
So what's quite phenomenal is that, looking at the CSO stats, right? I think about 17,000 establishments, import from the UK, and about 13,000 exported to the UK. It's quite a big chunk of revenue, both directions. I think that's where enough focus is being put on this. So, what Brian and I have come up with is that we're going to run some session. We're looking at running on the 5th of December, another one on the 11th of December. So what's the difference is that the 5th of December is more, exposing what Brexit means, explaining what does Brexit mean, going through, what does the new import rules look like, what the new export rules look like, looking at things like EU. So all this kind of concept and term which may be foreign to non-logistic professionals or custom professionals, we're going to present that to companies on the 5th of December. Then the 11th of December is more of a practical session where we look at industry specific. So one example, we could look at agri and food, and then go through the full supply chain from sourcing to delivery, and then walk through, okay, what does that mean to you? So one example could be, retail, you're sourcing from China, but your goods go into the UK. And from UK, you then buy it into Ireland. What does that mean to you? How should that supply chain change going forward, right? How would you put steps in place to mitigate whatever, changes would happen? We know that costs are going to go up. There's going to be additional paperwork and additional filing needs to be done to get the goods in. But how do we make this, simplify the company? So we're trying to do that in these 2 days. So, I suggest if you can come for these sessions, it makes sense. I think you've been in the industry for over 30 years, and I've been in the industry for 15 years. So combined, there's 45 years of knowledge. But, Brexit is real, right? I believe Brexit is going to happen. It's not a case of if, it's not a case of when, right? And I believe Brexit is going to be very disruptive, right? Because you're implementing something that's never happened before. So there's going to be a lot of trial and error at the start. What that means is going to be delays on shipments. It's going to mean extra checking on shipments, checking on paperwork, right? But ultimately, it means there's going to be a lot of business uncertainty, right? And that equates to cost. So cost would mean either on the duties or tariff side, that's one set of costs, or cost could be now, you have to hold more inventory because the transit time has increased. So to satisfy your same customer, you then have to hold more goods, which also means cost. So whichever way you look at Brexit, whatever side of the coin you look at it, it means your costs are going to go up.
Yes.
So now the time for us now look at, okay, how do we then even take costs out now early on? So you mentioned 8 to 10%. I think that's about right. So whichever way you look at it, your costs are going to go up somewhere in the margin of 8 to 10%. So how can you now proactively work with your supply chain to now take that cost out now before Brexit happens? Because when Brexit happens, it's not going to be that easy to pass the cost to the customer. So now it makes sense to see, okay, what do you need to do? So it could be renegotiating your terms, right? Or it could be a case of resourcing. So maybe not sourcing from UK, but sourcing from somewhere in Europe, which makes sense, right? What's also interesting is that there's also new Incoterms from 2020, which is also quite interesting. So also taking that into play, what terms you have with your supplier, do you have formal contracts in place? So that things which we need to start looking at and working with companies towards putting in place so that when Brexit happens, it's not a big of a mess as we think it's going to be, but it's going to be something that companies are intentional about trying to have solutions in place. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's important to identify all those particular issues that different companies are going to have. It's easy for us to sit here and say, well, we can propose that we do this program or this program or this program. Our aim is to obviously apply the experience that we've had in different businesses over the years, but also try and identify any issues that you guys may have within your own business that you might not necessarily have thought about in great detail, because the situation of Brexit is looming large over your heads. So if it's a case where you actually need to sit back and look at your full supply chain, as Bassi said, from changing your procurement practices or maybe identifying different suppliers, but taking that initial cost out of your supply chain is probably easier done if you have a look at the full supply chain from the moment you're actually buying your product to the moment that you're selling it to your customer. So I think between us, we should be able to identify that once we get a kind of a deep dive down into different businesses and different customer experiences as well.
Okay, cool. No, thank you, Brian. Thank you for your time. Any final words for the viewers?
Yeah, as Bassi said, we're running 2 programs on the 5th and on the 11th, and we definitely would look forward to seeing you guys here, where we can do deep dives, as I said, into your business and hopefully solve some of your problems. And look forward to seeing you there.
Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the time, and it's a wrap.